What's up? It's your boy Donovan, and in this week's art vlog, we are doing an assignment for my digital illustration class. The theme for the illustration this week is breakfast, and we were also given a lot of resources about comics and comic books. This week's assignment was to make a comic about breakfast. Now, it could have just been one single frame, like one single illustration, but I chose to go ahead and do a comic strip. And I really enjoy square format when it comes to digital art, so I went ahead and made my comic 3x3. Now we're going to go ahead and jump into Illustrator as I tell you a little bit about what my comic is displaying. So for the parameters of this assignment, we had to design a character and we had to have the theme be breakfast. Most of my comic strip is more breakfast than character, but I do think that it worked for the humor that I put into it, for the reveal that is in the end of the comic strip. The first panel is the stovetop with the gas turned on. The second panel is going to be a skillet on top of the stovetop. Then in the third panel, we have, the character coming in with just a hand, cracking an egg into the skillet. And we're going to repeat that basically a couple of times. So in the end, there will be 3 eggs inside of the skillet. And then at the end of my comic strip, you'll see that my character is based off of the mascot that I designed in my last art vlog. And she's yellow and she's got these big yellow ears and she looks exactly like the 3 eggs sitting there in the skillet. I came up with something simple that I could do quickly and make sure I get my assignment turned in on time, but I also wanted to make sure I practiced with the flat illustration resources and tools that we were given this week. So far, I'm really loving this digital illustration class. This is my only summer class. All of the information and the resources that my instructor has given us so far has been extremely helpful. This is stuff that I need to bookmark and save and low-key kind of collect into my own little manual for later on down the road. But there was just a lot of stuff about flat illustration that I did not know. And then there are also a lot of very informative and fun video interviews from different artists. This week we watched a clip of Matt Groening, who is the creator of The Simpsons. And he was describing how he got into comics and cartooning and what it all meant to him. And that was very enlightening and very fun to watch. I also took a look at the IBM guide for flat illustration that they do for their their ads and all of their online content. They broke down the grids, they broke down the colors, they broke down the spacing of each object. It's very, very thorough, but at the same time, very, very simple. I'm gonna literally study that probably for the rest of my little creative career, because it was just so much information, but it was so helpful. I tried to do things by the book. I tried to implement some of the techniques that was listed in the guide. This is an asynchronous online class, which means, I can do it pretty much. I have assignments due at specific times every week, specific days every week, even though it's an asynchronous class, which with an online class, if anyone was doing this, especially during the pandemic or anything like that, it can be pretty easy to just kind of get a little lazy, just take the easy way out when it comes to your assignments. But this class so far has been educating me so much that I'm trying to give it my all, as much as I can, because I'm already learning so much and we're only in week 2 going into week 3 right now. The one thing that I definitely need more practice with is coloring with flat illustration. I tried to play around with gradients a lot for this piece, but I need a little bit more practice defining shadows and solid highlights and stuff like that. I think if I would have given myself a little more time to work on the digital version, I probably could have come up with something a little bit better. or like just giving myself time to play around a little bit more. But as a starting point, I think this is pretty darn good, you know, and you can tell me if you disagree, that's perfectly fine. But I like where I'm at right now. I feel that as I move on in this class, I'm going to make that my goal to get better with adding color to digital illustration and flat vector illustration specifically. I did change the colors in this piece a few times. In the beginning, I kind of just chose colors that would make it easy to see the different objects like separate from each other. I was still trying to define the shapes of everything, still trying to figure out how to build the hands, you know, how to build all of my objects out of the basic geometric shapes without it being too stiff. The hands were the hardest part. I didn't have an idea really of how I wanted them to look before I started. In the beginning, the hands were just going to be nubs. I wasn't even going to design fingers. But then I figured, oh wait, since these are close-ups, I kind of have to show that this is a human. And making them nubs might make the hands look too much like paws, which would be fine if this was an animal character, but she's supposed to be like humanoid. So here you can see I switched the colors again. Instead of the red and green, I went for something a little bit softer and a little bit more playful. I went for like a pink and blue. And with the order of my panels, like how the 4 skillets kind of make a diamond shape and how all of the side views of the hand cracking the egg on the skillet go in like in a diagonal from the top right to the bottom left. I love the way that turned out. That was intentional, but not intentional. Like I didn't realize that it was going to be that kind of pattern, but I knew that I wanted to create some sort of rhythm with the repetition of the cracking of the eggs. And I didn't make my final character look exactly like the mascot that I showed you guys, but it's definitely very close. I wanted to give her a little bit more expression, like I wanted to make her a little more human than what my mascot looks. So even though her eyes are still closed, I didn't go with the very blocky geometric eyes. I went with like an eye that kind of had like a lash that was like flowing outward so she could look, you know, like happy and pleased with herself for making her breakfast look like her. I really like this design of her actually. It's freaking adorable, and I might even change the official mascot design. Like the way that I draw the eyes now is my own personal style, but the way that I drew the eyes here is just so like warm and friendly and inviting. So I don't know, I'm gonna have to give that a shot. So in the final panel, I did not add fingers because I felt like it was not necessary at that point. Because, you know, the character matches the color of the hands to the character, so that's good enough. And then we're coming up on the final design, the final illustration that I'm going to turn in for my assignment this week. This is my comic. You can see all 9 of my panels. You can see my cute little character with her egg breakfast looking very, very happy because her breakfast looks just like her. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Boy Donovan, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.